30 degrees.
Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, Juan-Juan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. But let me first introduce the members of the posse, or the Posse, as the kids say on the streets of Paris. Hey, listen, girls, time to sit down, get your misters, get your fans working overtime, the big box of cleanings, and the big box of wipes. We've graduated up to the top because the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Yeah, you betcha. Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one tonight. I can feel it in my bones.
Is that what you can feel?
I really do.
Okay.
I can feel the vibe.
You sure? All right. Yep. Good.
Yep.
Okay. We've officially upped.
I'm checking the temperature in the room, and it's
oops, what was
smoking
that?
hot.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
definitely.
good for you. Okay. So Juan, you're dressed kind of conservative tonight. You got the big 6-foot tongue in back of you, but yeah, it's dressed down a little bit.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm all black today.
All black. Okay, that's good. So now that we know that, I was just going to say this is the first time that we've actually bumped it up to the extra big box of wipes. Okay, for a long time they were medium size and so on. So I just want to let you know.
Well, for a while there, they were hard to get. So
exactly. So now, we've crossed that milestone. Speaking about milestones, up there in the great state of Maine, I don't know what milestones have to do with it, but on a farm, in his compound, formerly his bunker, they know him as Coco on the streets, but we know him as Commander Cobra. Coco, how are you?
Great, Mac. Thank you once again. Always a privilege and an honor to join the formation.
You bet. Welcome, Cobra, to the formation.
Thank you
for your service, as always.
Did I say his introduction right? Coco. They know him as Coco on the streets. We know him as Commander Cobra. Coco.
I think we covered it.
Okay, we got it the first time?
Really nice
okay, all right. Super. Just checking.
Yeah, I'll let it go. They know then now without legally, contractually, when the lawyers get a hold of this.
No,
I really enjoyed his back and forth this weekend on my announcement, or not really a big announcement, but making you guys aware of the upcoming movie with my buddy Tom Cruise.
Oh boy,
Maverick.
There's other people waiting to be introduced.
Maverick.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do a little story, but let's just introduce everyone else. Let's talk about your buddy.
We'll do
Tom
that
Cruise.
afterwards.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Our national correspondent up there in the world of donuts, the bowl of flex, Battle Creek, Michigan, Switchblade Steve Ward, Switch E.
It is great to be here tonight.
You look good.
Hello, Switch.
You look good. But listen, hold on a second.
He does.
Well, thanks.
There's a really
the hair.
strong trend of black on all of us.
But he also had his hair looked a little Hitlerish there. Can you move your hair back? All he needs is a little shoe polish under his nose, and he's the Führer. See, there you go. Okay, Switch. Everything good with you?
He looks fine.
What's that in the background?
It is good, except my neo-fascist tendencies that I feel all of a sudden.
These things come out as it turns out.
I'm overcoming them, though.
Okay, listen.
Do you have a need to do watercolors or oils right now?
Of buildings. He couldn't.
I'm not gonna.
He couldn't draw people. I'll tell you, if he could only have drawn people, none of it would have happened. But he was refused entry into the Art Institute of Vienna because he couldn't draw people, and that's when the bad part of the story began.
I can draw people, but just not terribly well.
Oh, well, I guess that was his problem too. But anyway, let's move on. All right, this is definitely Beauties and the Beast. I mean, no, wait, Beast and the Beauty. No, Beauty and the Beast tonight, because joining us from Las Vegas, where it's nice and balmy, Ella the Psychic. Hello, Ella.
Hello, Mac. Hello, boys.
Hello, Ella.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Ella.
Hello, Ella. As always, a pleasure to see you.
Boys. Hello, boys. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
We got to be a TV show because Ella is kind of, I don't want to use the word sprawled on your bed, but you're on your bed, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I don't really have a desk, so this is my desk.
Hey, no problem with that.
And she looks comfortable in it, too. It looks like it's a sitting bed, I guess.
Yeah,
It's,
let's call it that if you
not
want.
like she's laying down, ready to fall off.
No, I'm
Come on.
sitting up.
You never know what's going to happen.
Looks good.
It's just the beginning of the show.
Thank you.
Ella, thanks for joining us tonight from balmy Las Vegas. 60s. In the 60s or so, people seem to like it. I don't know why, but it's better than that 120 that happens out there sometimes.
Right? Yeah, I like this time of year in Las Vegas. The weather's nice.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So listen, let's go back to Switchy. Okay. Once again, the skew for the show that most people listen to, or the point that most people listen to in the 2-hour show is, what did Switch have for breakfast?
And, if you could just see the look of excitement, joy on his face when this question is directed to him. It warms the cockles of your heart.
Wait.
After a nor'easter in New England.
I think cockles was the secret word.
You don't want to overwarm your cockles, though.
But once again, cockles, secret word.
At this point, doesn't matter anymore, Switch. Doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, that's fine. If you want to deep dive into what's going on with the cocoa. It looks like he's drinking apple juice. Is that apple juice there, Coco, by any chance?
No, this is a wheat product from Ireland.
Oh, okay. Okay, good for you. Wheat is good for you.
Okay.
Let's get back to the Fiora. I mean, Switchy. So, what did you have today for breakfast? Let's just get right to it. I get a feeling it's going to be a letdown. That's the vibe. I don't see anything exciting, but prove me wrong, please. Switch.
Well, I can't. I'm not a gourmet cook, and I don't go to restaurants all the time. I mean, it can't be something new. I mean, it's not like I'm my own production studio that creates different meals for one's entertainment. But it was okay. I had 2 scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Added some shredded cheese. No green pepper this time. And I had no bacon, so I had some leftover corned beef hash, and I heated that up, and I had it with hot black coffee.
Good.
And it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good meal. Okay.
Sounds fabulous.
Toast?
It sounds healthy.
Do you have toast?
Americano.
Yes, I had 1 piece of toast.
1 piece of toast, trying to keep it healthy. Yeah, okay.
What type of bread?
What type? When the bread? White bread.
That was Sara Lee wheat or something like that.
Wheat?
Yeah, it wasn't white bread. Wasn't that white Wonder Bread that allegedly built strong bodies 12 ways.
Well.
But, allegedly, I say.
Yes.
Yeah, what were the top 10 ways?
I don't know. 12 was overreaching, frankly, for that
I don't think my mother ever knew that, but that's what we used to use.
So they used to say, yeah.
Yeah, same here.
So anyway. Well,
amazing to watch the film on how they would whip that up.
Yeah.
Go up. How they would fuse the air in it, too. And make those.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I know. But hey, everyone ate it, and we're still here.
It's enriched, too. The loaves were enriched.
Yeah.
What they were enriched with was anybody's guess, but
I believe it was a magic wand.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
kept us healthy.
It looks like that...
Sometimes my mother would cut off the crust.
Oh,
really? I don't know why.
Wow.
That's
how
entitled.
Amazing to know that you would not eat the crust.
Wow.
I like the crust.
Okay.
Oh, so you say. So you say.
I don't know why she cut it off sometimes.
To punish you. You must have done something wrong.
Maybe she saw that on TV.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, Ella, is she still there? Okay. Ella's on her bed, but I'm afraid she's going to fall asleep or something aboard her.
Ella, what did you have for breakfast today?
Yeah, please.
What did I have?
Yes,
breakfast?
please say a Scotch and Coke or something.
Actually, I didn't have breakfast. I had lunch.
What'd you have for lunch?
So, is that okay? A chimichanga.
Oh, yeah, I could go for that. And a margarita. And
wait a minute, what is that? I've heard of it. What is it?
Everything packed into a tube.
It's kind of like a burrito, but I think it's fried or something. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. And it's big. It's
packed.
Yeah, it's packed
with all the goodness.
Packed with stuff. Yeah, they're good.
So good.
So anyway, well, listen, we have an interesting show tonight because tonight is the show of lists. Okay, we have 4 different lists that we're going to go over, top 10 lists of different topics. And before we go to the commercial break, however, Switch has brought something. The elephant in the room is this huge picture of Tom Cruise looking over Switch's shoulder. Now, first of all, the horror begins here with this. Our good friend Raven told us a few weeks ago that if you really look at Tom Cruise, his teeth don't line up, and it's true. And it's one of those things that once you see it, you don't. He has a big tooth kind of in the middle of his face. Yeah, it's really weird. But anyway, he can't act. He's not a good actor. I don't like him.
He doesn't have to act. He just have to run a lot.
Well, see, he's a movie star. You're right. In a way, he doesn't have to act, but he tries to act, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But anyway, go ahead, Juan-Juan. You tell us all about Little Tommy and the new movie that's coming out.
Well, as you know, Tom Cruise is Top Gun, and I think that anybody who watches this movie, or even watched the original Top Gun, the next day they went up to their recruiter and they said, "Sign me up because I'm going to do what he does." And I think that's all part of why the Navy, I think, donates a lot of dough to the film.
I don't know if they donate it.
Wrong, Cobra, but
go ahead.
They do.
It's not really a donation, Juan-Juan.
It's a funding
project. The project gets approved.
Yeah.
And the Department of Defense and the Department of Navy say, "Yep, they'll support it." There's usually, some kind of a nominal limit that they'll put up against it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll assign units to it. And as I told you, some of the coolest cats wearing uniforms are the Hollywood liaison guys. That's these guys and gals. That's their job. They're in the respective services. They're very funny. They get scripts all the time looking for support. Sometimes they want other support, a flyby scene, in a movie that doesn't maybe have a military theme to it, or they want to have a rescue scene and they want to use a helicopter or boats and stuff.
Hey, listen,
so they look at it, they weigh the script, and then if they don't like the script, maybe if the script will say something that doesn't really hold really great light, then that's when you usually see the really crappy special effects trying to put the military airplane or the military ship in there because the military didn't want to support that project. Either the script was bad or it was something that was really quite not flattering.
Right.
Or some kind of stock footage that was also crappy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that's but anyway, let's just go back to Tom Cruise.
So anyway, it's exciting that Maverick is back. And my first question was, if I was at the opening screening, the grand opening,
yes,
which is what, July 3rd or something?
Let's see.
Conveniently just before the 4th.
Go ahead.
Who was the Kelly McGillis equivalent in this movie?
Wow, it's Jennifer.
I looked at the
Yeah.
I looked at the Internet Movie Database. I saw a character named Phoenix. I think she's a pilot.
Yep, probably. Sounds good. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I believe that's correct.
Jennifer Connelly is in the movie.
And
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly is in it.
Nice.
She might be the Kelly McGillis equivalent. The instructor that
we could do a whole show on what happened in the real.
Doesn't sing any BS. It doesn't tolerate any BS.
Kelly McGillis. Yeah.
I think what her.
I never saw the first one.
Yeah. You never saw the first one?
No.
Wow.
Oh, he's a submariner.
Oh, that's right.
They take an oth not to have seen Top Gun to go into the silent service.
Good for you.
Run silent, run deep. Life Station Zebra, Operation Petticoat.
Operation Petticoat. That's funny. Yeah.
Periscope.
So should we wreck Juan-Juan's good feeling to retell the story? Obviously, he doesn't remember, but what happened when Tom Cruise landed on I think it was the Abraham Lincoln, where they shot a lot of this latest movie.
What happened?
Well, I don't want to kill your puppy there, my friend. Can you take it?
I can take it, but he was awesome. What are you talking about?
Okay, so when he landed, it had to be 2 summers ago now when they were filming this. He was on the Abraham Lincoln.
Now, first, Mac, are you sure about this? This isn't just some
right.
I'll tell you exactly. I'll tell you exactly.
He gets his
from the National Tatler or something.
No.
I think one of his friends was running dailies for the movie or something.
You tell me. I'll tell you the story I heard, and you tell me whether you think it's on the level. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I believe it's the Abraham Lincoln, and I think they say they're out there for 6 weeks. Man, that's a long time. Long time. But anyway, he lands on the boat, and they kind of fake like he flew the plane in. This friggin' nonsense. But before he arrives, his gophers, land on the ship, and they go, don't look Tom straight in the eye. Don't approach Tom. Don't have any kind of conversation with him. If you pass him in the corridors, passages are tight on ships. Don't look him in the eye. Let him go by. All this stuff, okay? And so what happened, and this is why I tend to believe it, hearing stuff about him before, but also all of a sudden, and this is what these people don't understand, the Twitter universe, or at least the Twitter universe on the USS Abraham Lincoln, boom, burns up. This is what they told us. This is what they said. This is, instead of, and I said it before, all Tom Cruise had to do, land like an ordinary person, go to chow with these people. How you doing? Sorry to interfere. Thanks for putting up with us. Come to see the movie. We'll pay your ticket. Boom. And everyone loves him. Then the Twitter universe would have been, he's a great guy. But they don't, you know what I mean? That they don't have that sensibility is what I think. Coco, do you want to weigh in on that? You hate him too, right?
I don't. I've heard the same thing that you heard, Mac. I don't know the validity of it. I do know that Tom Cruise invokes a lot of disparaging comments and energy. He's not liked for his religion. He's not liked for some of his success. And like many big-time movie stars, as you said before, he has certain things that he will not allow. I mean, I remember reading something someplace about he will only be the one in a running scene for some reason. That he won't have other people running along with him or something. I don't know. And I've heard crazy stuff all along the way. The little bit that I know of many people in movies, on that, and some that I've met in the past were extremely cool characters. No Ego Vigo Myerton.
Oh yeah, No Ego Vigo.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice man.
Yes.
You would not know unless you bumped up against him and realized that he is that he's done movies, and I thought some really good stuff.
Yeah. He kind of disappears into some of his roles.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, The Road, he was unbelievable in The Road. I mean,
that was
very few people could have pulled off that book, and very few people could have pulled off that screenplay.
Listening to Mack Maloney's movie.
Back to Mr. Cruise.
Go ahead.
I think it should be a fun go, and started this conversation with this weekend. We had our, as Agent X likes to say, our frat boy emails flying back and forth.
Oh, really?
And X always loves to be part of that. And he and I were speaking earlier today, and he made some remark about the emails and the activity. Yeah, just to make it clear, the Department of Defense, in this case the Navy, is looking to a sizable positive impact to recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting.
For what people will see in this movie. And the fact that they're going to include drones in this, that it's going to be a feature that is going to have some really high-end Mack Maloney military tech and aircraft. They're
on sale everywhere.
High-end aircraft that's involved in this is going to be fun. I think it would be good entertainment.
Yeah.
I really liked the first Top Gun.
The first one was all right, movie. Yeah.
It was.
It had a lot of really
cool flying,
unique inside part. And I know a lot of the people now. Some of them were guests on my previous on my old show.
Yes,
that were in Top Gun when they were using Top Gun facility for the filming. So pretty good stuff.
Hey Ella,
I never really heard anything negative.
No, I mean the thing about it came out in '86, and it was kind of weird, but it was like the end of the Vietnam hangover because there was nothing happening in like the entertainment world or anything war-wise for 10 years after Vietnam because people had it, and then all of a sudden, jet fighters are sexy because Tom Cruise is flying one, and you also have Tom Clancy come out with his books, and things turn around and things change. People, luckily, are into the military again because I'd be. Plowing.
Well, the big change was Reagan. If you're going to bring up that time period, Reagan and Reagan's change on how the military was going to be
Top Gun
used, funded, was a big part.
Let's go to
the Iran hostage crisis too.
Right.
Turned people
around
to be more patriotic.
Right.
Too.
Right. How they were just so uncoordinated in that whole thing. And I saw today that they're going to take they're going to recycle the Nimitz. They're going to literally just recycle the USS Nimitz. It's going to take them 15 years to go through it, take out parts that might be used on other aircraft carriers, and then just take it apart. 15 years to deconstruct the
I was
USS
on the Nimitz, great ship.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. It's going to be like tears when it happens. But anyway, let's get to some very more important question. Ella, Tom Cruise, yes and no, from a woman's point of view. Please tell us. No. See, Mama.
No, I'm shocked.
I'm not.
No, I've never been attracted to him.
See, a lot of women. Very short.
He definitely is short.
Yeah, got that tooth. Got the tooth.
I never noticed the teeth.
No, you will now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can't unsee it, right?
And he was married.
You're in the company with Mrs. Cobra. She feels the same way.
I don't know. I don't know any women who like Tom Cruise, frankly.
Well, he was actually very good, strangely enough, in the Jack Reacher films, even though physically he did not fit the
I thought he did a good job, but you're right. He is not a matchup to the physical description of
right. And Mission Impossible.
I have a story about that if you want to hear it.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So they pick now. Jack Reacher is he's about 6 feet tall. He's muscular, blonde, and everything.
Wow.
And it's a series of stories written by Lee Child.
Now being taken over by his brother for the footnote.
Right. And some of them are very good, and I think they're kind of hit and miss, but that's just my opinion. But some are very good. So the character, they decide Tom Cruise is going to play him, and then you can't find someone that's more unlike that character.
Yes.
So I went to one of my favorite authors is Steve Hamilton, who writes the Alex McKnight series, Private Eye up in Paradise, Michigan. Okay. So he and Lee Child, they're a bunch of authors, as you know sometimes, Mac. They congregate at these places promoting their books and so forth. And he knew
not me.
Somebody was going to ask Lee Child what he thought about Tom Cruise playing the role. Okay. So he wasn't going to do it. So he just followed everybody in the bar and waited till somebody asked him. So Lee Child said that he would rather have somebody that represents the character of Jack Reacher, and does a good job, even though he may not physically look like him. He was very diplomatic about it.
Yes.
But actually, when I saw the first film and was a fan of the series, I thought, well, you know what? They pulled off a good Jack Reacher.
Yeah, interesting.
And Cruise did a good job.
Well, he was good in Minority Report. It's like one of the best sci-fi movies ever. Steven Spielberg directs it.
He's good in a bunch of movies.
Tom Cruise is in it, and it's like, wow, that's it.
Runs a lot in those movies.
The vampire.
Oh yeah.
Interview with a Vampire. Yeah.
What about Rain Man's brother?
Well, anybody who could work with Dustin Hoffman, who I hear is a demanding actor, I thought they actually paired up very well.
Rain Man. In that movie. Yeah, that was an interesting.
They built a chemistry that you really thought that they were brothers. And he played pretty well self-absorbed guy, and he's got to take on this thing. So I thought he did a pretty better than fair job there.
Yeah. How is he married to Nicole Kidman though?
Well, he's not.
I mean, he was though, correct?
He was.
Wow, I didn't dream that. Phew, figure that out. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, those two in Eyes Wide Shut. That's one of the great ones you're going to have to explain.
That's like the end of movies.
Master's degree in film studies to completely explain that's movie, that film.
There's a scene. The only thing
I had to watch that movie by myself, Mrs. Juan-Juan.
Good idea. There's a scene in that.
Watch that with me.
Eyes Wide.
What probably happened was
correct. Have you seen
what really happened? What really happened?
Go ahead.
Come on, fill us in. What really happened?
I'm just going to say what probably happened was that the monolith from 2001. Somebody left it on and didn't turn it off.
And that
somehow
overheated.
Produced Eyes Wide Shut.
There's a scene in Eyes Wide Shut. Okay, now Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, they're married in real life, but they're also married in the movie. Okay.
Hold on a second, Ella. Did you see the movie?
Did you see Eyes Wide Shut?
It's been a long time. I don't really remember it very well.
Nicole Kidman is about 2.5 feet taller than Tom Cruise, but that's immaterial. Okay. Tom Cruise is a doctor in the movie, but you can't imagine him as a doctor. So I think that someone counted this 53 times in the movie where he goes, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. Okay? If you're not convinced by the end of the movie. Because Stanley Kubrick didn't like to fly. He's passed away now. They recreated Greenwich Village on the Templeton Studios in London with unbelievable effects, okay? But when you watch the movie, and we've talked about this many, many times, the movie makes no sense.
It makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense because it's like all these these trials of Tom Cruise, and he's lost in the city, and he can't get home, and he's get in a freaking cab and go home. Number one, okay, it's not you're not Ulysses lost out somewhere, and at the end, where you just say, what? And they go to this weird party, and it's supposed to be swingers, and everyone has a mask on, yet people know who they are. I mean, there's a scene in it where everyone has a mask on, and people come right up to Tom Cruise, and they go, what are you doing here? How do they know? Out of 1,000 people with masks on, and it's just stupid. It's a stupid, long, long movie. But there's a scene in it where they both get stoned. They both get high. Yeah. And I would say to anyone, pre-K, and before you get married in the Catholic Church, you have to go through pre-K and you have to talk to a priest. Well, I think they should show you this scene because everything that can go wrong if you get stoned with your wife goes wrong in that scene. I think he just left the cameras on because she's, it's like a nightmare. But anyway, other than that, Really crappy movie.
I'd have to say one of my favorite roles for Mr. Cruz that could bring us to back to center was Vanilla Sky.
Oh,
very interesting sci-fi adaptation. I thought it was a good.
Okay,
I enjoyed it.
All right, listen. Can I just tell you one little inside showbiz story? And then we got to go. Who's the name of the woman who played in that with him? It was like her last name was Cruz as well, but it was spelled differently. Penelope Cruz.
Penelope Cruz.
Okay. Somewhere, whatever agency.
It's spelled the Spanish way.
Okay. Whatever agency they were with, what happens is that they like to have cute pairings of, guy stars and girl stars. And someone literally said, let's have both of their names be Cruz. Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz. That's how Vanilla Sky got made. How about that movie where he plays a soldier?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. That's the PI. Because Tom isn't into women like, let's say, we are. But there was a sci-fi movie that he filmed up in Iceland because he went up there, and that's where his other wife kind of took the train out of town. But it's supposed to be a really good movie. It's like about a super soldier. He gets shot, but he comes back to life. Soldiers come back to life on the battlefield or something. Have you ever heard of that, Cookie?
Sure, that happens all the time.
Does it really?
You think they're dead, and then all of a sudden adrenaline kicks in.
Really? Do you see a lot of that down in Newport? Or down at the Charlestown Navy?
On the streets. The wild streets of Newport.
The wild streets of Newport, yes.
I was just hoping that my car starts. So I can
I don't think we should be making fun because Juan-Juan spent a lot of time in the combat zone. So let's.
That's right.
Let's move it along.
Eating pizza.
Can I throw one last
please.
admin item in there, Mac?
Ella has no idea what
it's my son's birthday. The night that we're taping is my son's birthday. 29 years old.
Wow. Now, he's still in the Coast Guard, right? Is he
29.
Yeah.
29?
Congratulations.
He's another squid.
Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. That's wonderful. But that's the miracle of a really cheap computer camera that makes me look like I'm anything.
You look really good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Coco's 29. How old are we?
It's the camera that made me look fascist earlier. So.
The camera made him look fascist. That's right.
It's got that fascist, lens on it.
Right, okay. So listen, anyway, why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll get back to this is the show of lists here on Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show. And the whole gang is here, and we'll be right back after this.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed, the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Pong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Juan-Juan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. It's our show of lists. With us tonight, girls. I hope you've already unpacked your gear. Very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. Hello, everybody that's listening to the show. Ladies and gentlemen on all ships at sea, welcome to the Mack Maloney's Military X-Files Show. You will love it. You will be impressed. You will be fascinated. You will be amazed at how awesome the show is. Right, Mac?
I can't disagree with you. Thank you, Juan. There in...
it's great. It's fun, too.
The great state of Maine in his compound. Commander Cobra. Cece, how are you doing tonight?
As always, Mac, an absolute privilege and honor to be part of the great formation of Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Thank you, Coco. Up there in, Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm just saying wow because he has an interesting graphic behind him. National correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward, Switch.
It is great to be here, and I am beyond wonderful tonight.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what that is behind you. It's called an electroplane, right?
I don't know. I just grabbed some weird images of strange planes for the background.
It is an in-ground effect airplane.
Yeah. How do you say that?
Caspian Monster?
Yeah, the Caspian Sea Monster. It's basically a flying battleship, but another show.
Really?
Sweetening up our show, sweetening up our formula. And she just took a swig of something, man. I think it was wine. But laying on her bed with rose-petaled pillows and blankets is our favorite redhead west of the Mississippi, Ella the Psychic. Ella, how are you?
Hi, Mac. I'm great.
Hello, Ella. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Juan-Juan.
You're welcome.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Really? Should we say you're sprawled on the bed? What's the right verb? What's the verb?
Reclined. She is reclined like Cleopatra upon.
That's right.
Upon her.
Okay.
Upon her.
All right.
She's luxuriously lounging on the.
Lounging.
Yeah.
All right. I was criticized last time because I said splayed, but that is not the proper.
And she's living in Las Vegas, which this week a major sporting event will be occurring.
Okay, but we're a timeless show, so
the money is flowing.
He's talking about
what sporting event is that?
The ping pong championships.
The ping pong championships.
So listen, this is
big money in ping pong. Ella, don't be fooled.
Right, take the ping, not the pong. That's what trick my bookie told me.
Interesting.
There we go.
Well, we're a timeless show.
Well, to some people, I'd rather ping pong myself.
All right,
that's the other Tom. That's the other Tom I like. We talked about Tom Cruise, and Tom Brady is my other Tom.
He sends me.
And I have a third Tom, by the way.
Oh, you do?
About the third Tom.
Tom. Go ahead. What?
Tom's of Maine toothpaste is my third Tom that I completely adore.
If you get paid for that, there, brother, we have to split it.
No, I just
Colgate owns Tom's of Maine now. So
they do?
Sure.
For a long time, it's been sold.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Actually, I know Tom.
You know Tom.
Do you?
Very closely, but I do.
I bet he's a great guy because he does put a lot of time and effort. And
he's a rich guy if Colgate owns it, so he must be a great guy as well. So
sold off to the conglomerate, huh?
Wow, how dare he?
It's like what Ben and Jerry's did.
What did they do?
They sold off to the conglomerate.
Ben sold to Jerry? Yeah. Okay. Did they really? Yeah. Those two? Hey, listen,
I forget the name of the dairy.
Let me tell you something about Ben and Jerry, okay? I was in your little adopted town of Newport once, and we were walking around down the docks down there. There's an extensive kind of wharfs and piers and stuff. And
you're doing the mansion
I did the mansion thing, and then I went down looking for a bar. So there's a Ben and Jerry's out of the middle of nowhere. We go in there, it's packed. And they give, when you, like if you're at a doctor's office and they put two little pills in a little plastic cup. It's not even, it's
one of those little.
Yeah, little.
Those little tiny cups.
Yeah, like a little bit.
It's a sample cup.
A sample cup, yeah. Okay, that was $4.50. Okay. Ben and Jerry.
If you did it up in Vermont, it was free, but you had to wait for 2 hours to get your
there you go.
cup.
I'd rather pay the money. So anyway, Ben and Jerry's, okay? I love Ben, but I hate Jerry. So so what we're going to do is this is the show of lists, and we're going to go. Coco has put together a list of weird airplanes, too weird to make it in World War I. Is that right, Coco? Is that how you would
World
say?
War II test airplanes.
World War II test airplanes. Okay, so Ella has the list. So why don't we go to Ella, please? Top 10 weird airplanes, too weird to make it into World War II. Experimental airplanes, please.
World War II.
Number 10, please, Ella.
Volts TXP-54 Swoosh Goose.
The Swoosh Goose, twin boom airplane, was not extremely fast, although it only could do about 380 miles per hour. It had a very unique feature. Its nose would pivot, crank down, so that they could do strafing attacks from a level flight attitude. But the War Department just did not like this airplane, and it went nowhere. To me, not a bad-looking design, and it had two 37-millimeter cannons, which was a big deal in those days for chewing up the ground targets.
That's big. Yeah.
But it got its name, the Swoosh Goose, from some popular song of the time period.
Really?
For what it's worth, the Swoosh Goose.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Odd-looking airplane. Number 9, please, Ella.
Number 9, Lip-ish P-13A Das Kohlflieger.
Wow, Das Kohlflieger.
it's a good thing that we have the in-house Deutsch kind of look going on with the show tonight, with Ella with her blonde hair and
switch with
Die Führer in residence with a Russian airplane behind him.
Jawohl, mein Führer.
This airplane looks like something that you would make like a paper airplane. It was an amazing design.
Yeah, funny. Yep.
It had a really high tail that the pilot would sit in. But the interesting thing about this airplane, although it was a rocket-style airplane, it ran on coal, and they could never quite get this thing to work out. This was the Germans. Third Reich was trying to build this towards the middle to the end of the war, and they didn't have access to a lot of petroleum, so that what they were fighting up against was using what they had available, which was coal. And they never really quite got this one into the air. It's a very interesting-looking airplane. Very funny airplane.
Yes, right.
Funny like Springtime for Hitler fun.
There you go. Okay, nothing's funnier than that. Please, number 8, please. Ella, airplanes so weird they couldn't make it into World War II. How's that?
Right. Number 8, XP-55 Ascender.
Yes,
now, this is a favorite of mine. Curtiss Wright, two of the fabled early starts in aviation in the United States. Their companies had joined together. This was a pusher-type airplane, swept wing. It had its cannons
power in the back
and 50 caliber machine guns nestled in the nose. It looks like it should have gone very fast. It just did not seem to ever quite get to where it needed to be.
Funny.
And it just wasn't well received. I think partially because I just think it was so different and so far out of the standard of what many airplanes of that era looked like.
Yeah, right.
But it had a very unique look to it. And as I've shared with Mac offline, it looks very similar to the airplane that I have, Velocity. And I think that some of the flight characters are probably very, very similar to it. This is one of my favorites, though. I really like the Ascender. I kind of like that really unconventional look and that early sweep one.
So what do you get technology-wise out of having the pusher propeller as the propeller is in the back, right?
Yeah, well, a very successful airplane from Britain in World War I had it in the back, and it made it easy to shoot the machine guns. So that's one of the things that they were really concerned about, that you didn't have to sink it through a propeller. Sometimes you would get better performance out of it. When the engine is in the back, there is less drag and less interference with the rest of the fuselage of the airplane, so you get some benefits there. So there are some unique aspects to it, and also it has some interesting weight and balance, because the heavier portion now, which the engine tends to be, allows you to do things like sweep the wing, to put the pilot further in front there on the wings, like on the Ascender.
Yeah.
Gives some capabilities. Remember, you can sweep the wings forward too. The Germans tried that. One of the problems with sweeping wings forward before the advent of computer technology on board to help you control the airplane, they're unstable. So the faster you go, the wings start to move. They'll start to wiggle around, so you get metal fatigue. What the Germans were doing during World War II is they just kept making the wings stronger and stronger, which added weight and didn't help them get what they wanted. But sweeping a wing forward or aft gives you greater speed at cruise. That's what they were after.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The aerodynamic mathematics involved in something like that is really crazy. So, Ellen, let me ask you something off the topic. You can see me, right? What would you do with my beard?
Yes.
Would you trim my beard? Do you think I should trim my beard, or you think I should grow it longer?
No, it looks nice.
You sure?
I like it.
I hate it, man.
Yeah, you should grow it a little longer. You hate it?
Yeah, I hate my beard. Yes, I do.
Or, okay, how about like the little goatee and just like shave the sides?
I did that, and my wife didn't recognize me, so I took that as a bad sign. Okay.
And shave the mustache and just like
No. I did that once, and she was, she said, just grow it back so I'll know, who you are. So anyway, okay, why don't we take the next weird airplanes and top 10 list of weird airplanes too weird to make it into World War II. Please, Ella.
Number 7, Miles M39 Libellula.
The Libellula, British airplane. I think I'm surprised this airplane didn't make it big time, because the Brits weren't afraid to do the kind of work. And I don't know why this airplane was, it's very unconventional for the time, the way it looks. But this was a 400-mile-per-hour airplane, 2,000-pound payload, 1,500 miles, 3-man crew. and it was very impressive. Everyone that saw it fly said it handled well. It had all the stuff, but the RAF said no, thank you, and they didn't go forward. But this is another though swept wing with a canard up front, much like the Ascender. But this had a conventional nesting of 2 engines attached in a sweep configuration. I think they missed a good one in this particular airplane.
Right, yeah. But as we said before, sometimes there's this rule of thumb, if you want to call it that, is if it looks good, it flies good. And a lot of these airplanes just looked odd, I mean, even now they would look odd, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And so, okay, next in the top 10 of weird airplanes, too weird to make it into World War II. Please, Ella.
Number 6, PF-82 Twin Mustang.
The Twin Mustang.
The P/F-82 Twin Mustang was literally 2 Mustang fuselages added together with a center section wing that joined the two, and then they put an elevator that connected the 2 tail fuselages together. Mm-hmm. It was an extremely successful airplane. It was put together because they just did not have the jet technology quite ready to go. They wanted speed. They wanted range.
End of World War II.
And a couple of unique things about this airplane. Both cockpits could control the entire aircraft. Mm-hmm. It flew with 2 pilots nominally as a normal configuration. Never made it into World War II. It did have the capability to fly from Hawaii to Manhattan without refueling. That's the kind of range this airplane had with the tanks and what it carried. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive airplane.
If you saw two P-51 Mustangs literally put together.
The Germans experimented.
Literally put together. That's what it looked like, okay? And like you said, it
is. It's 2 P-51s side by side with a slab wing in the center.
And the wing had tons of fuel in it. And the strange, they used it in the Korean War, but as he said, it would be 2 pilots.
They did.
And basically what it was we needed something that would fly over the vast range of the Pacific, something that had the fuel capacity, but not with just 1 pilot. Okay, so because it'd be too taxing on him, so they put 2 Mustangs together. It looks odd. You look at a picture of it and you say this got to be a joke, but as Coco said, it's very successful. I mean, it wasn't around for a long time, but. What it did really
a lot of
well.
interesting reconnaissance work. It's featured in one of Mack's books, the F-82.
Oh, yeah.
Makes an appearance in one of his books.
What book was that? It's awesome.
And the Germans tried the similar thing with the PF-109Z.
Mm-hmm. The Messerschmitt, yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, people, they come up with gadgets. That's what's cool about airplanes in a way. Please, Ella, our top 10 weird airplanes, so weird they couldn't make it into World War II, please.
Number 5, Beckham BA-349 Natter.
This, to me, is one of the most overlooked airplanes of World War II. Could have been a game changer if the Germans were able to spend just a little bit more time on it, or if they had a little more time to do it. They were running out of resources. The bomber streams were taking their toll on Germany. They came up with a plywood, nearly supersonic airplane. It was wood construction. It did not have landing gear. The pilot would climb inside the airplane. It would be raised into a vertical mode, fired off as a rocket. It would fly up past the bomber stream. Engine would burn out, supersonic or near supersonic speed, roll over the top, dive down at the bomber formation with all that excess speed and power. And it carried a series of rockets in the nose, 33 of them, unguided, explosive-tipped rockets that would fire off in almost like a shotgun blast into the bomber stream. And then the real prize of this concept was that when it got close to the ground, the pilot and the nose section would detach and parachute down to the ground, and the fuselage would have separate parachute, and it would come down the ground. Incredible. It was made with very accessible resources. We talk a lot about the Mosquito fighter bomber, which was a plywood, the wooden wonder of the Brits. This airplane had a similar capability. The never successfully was used in combat. The couple test flights, the first flight killed the pilot. Something happened with his canopy and he broke his neck on the launch. But it never saw action. 36 of them were built. Some of them survived. Some of them made it to the United States. There's one at the Air Force Museum. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah. And featured in Wingman, let me try to guess. I don't know, 14 or 15?
14?
How was it? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's 14.
Just buy the whole set and you'll come upon it eventually. On Still Everywhere, please. Ella, top 10 airplanes so weird they didn't make it into World War II, please.
Number 4, Bell YFM-1 Aircuda.
The Aircuda.
Now, here is a pretty incredible airplane, and you have to love the fact the way Ella threw in the Aircuda name. She was able to pull that off without any hesitation, any tripping up on it. So very proud of you on that one. This was designed in the 30s, didn't get a lot of attention, and they brought it back on. The idea was to make a bomber destroyer. This airplane, on the engine nacelles, packed huge cannons in front of each engine with a pusher type engine. And it was designed to fly into the bomber stream, and with the movable gun turrets at each one of these nacelles on the front part of the engine, go to work, the 37 millimeter cannons that they had. And it had large cabins, space for the crew, and it was definitely an aircraft that took a long time to get built. And then when I got the flying version of it up, it only did about 275 miles per hour. Not nearly fast enough. It couldn't catch most of the bombers. And the particular case of the pusher engine in this one definitely made for some handling issues with it because of the weight involved. When you don't have the propeller in the front and you're not getting that airflow over the wing in a multi-engine airplane like this, there are some adverse effects that you can get. So they never were able to go very far with it, and they said adios.
One thing that I've found, just reading about this stuff all my life, is that sometimes people might not realize the difference between a machine gun and a cannon. Okay, like a 50 caliber machine gun, which a lot of these airplanes, carried in World War II. It's a machine gun. It shoots bullets. Okay, a cannon shell shoots cannon shells, and where it might take 20 or 30 bullets to shoot down an airplane, it would take one well-placed cannon shell. Boom, it's gone. Right, Colin? One or two in your...
Yeah, in general, that is a very true statement, Mac. So what they did on most fighter airplanes, because they were trying to keep the performance of the airplanes up, you can put a 50 caliber machine gun and a series of them buried into the wings, or in the case of a P-38, you can put a cluster of them in the nose of the fuselage, because that was a twin-engined fighter. In the cannon, it's not easy to stick those into the wing, plus you don't have a lot of room for the ammunition. It's hard to belt that ammunition. So they tended to want to put those into the fuselage of the airplane. We had more space. And in that particular case, the rate of fire is very slow. But if you're tagged up with one of these cannons, and in the case of the Germans, they tried mixing both. Many of their fighters, through the center hub of the propeller, had a cannon, as well as machine guns that were nestled in the wings, that you had both to choose from. In general, the Allies tended to stay with the machine gun because you could put 4 on each wing, 3 in each wing. And so if you had a jam, you still had a reasonable rate of fire and an amount of lead that you could put into the opposing aircraft, as opposed to the... probably the greatest cannon airplane is the A-10 with the 30 millimeter GAU-8 electric gun there.
It's a Gatling gun cannon, and they built an airplane around the cannon. So anyway,
that's correct.
Ella, top 10 list of airplanes so weird and they didn't make it into World War II, please.
Number 3, Bloom and Voss BV-141 side saddle.
Bloom and Voss.
Very interesting airplane. Very, very unique in its design. The fuselage, the main fuselage that carried the tail or the empennage of the airplane, had the propeller and engine at the end of it. There was a nacelle and a wing that is alongside it that the crew sat in. This was repeated later on in a Rutan design many years later. There's certain efficiencies that was able to get out of it, but there was a terrible problem of a blind spot, because in the crew in the fuselage, looking to the left, the larger fuselage that housed the engine and the main body of the aircraft blocked their view. It it is an airplane that had a lot of interest by Ernest Unt, who was the World War I ace, and then he was the head of aviation production at a certain part of it. The airplane just never really seemed to get past what they wanted to do with it. It could have been a decent tactical reconnaissance airplane. It just didn't carry enough firepower, and I think this is one that just suffered from not having a design that was going to carry the day.
Yeah, just once again,
it looked unconventional.
Yeah, it looked very, very odd. You know, you just can't imagine hundreds of these things being built for some reason. Okay, so
well, the problem is that this one was plagued with a bad engine. It just did not have a really good power plant. That was the death knell.
That kills a lot of airplanes. You know, they'll design this kind of cool airplane, and it turns out to be underpowered. You know, and they have to kind of start from scratch.
Or they were promised an engine. You know, they promised a certain engine, and that engine can't be made.
Right. Yes.
Or it's not. It's behind in production, or it goes to another airplane. That happens a lot in World War II, where there's only so many engines, and they go to a different manufacturer because they have better connections to get them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wow. Okay, our top 10 list of airplanes so weird they couldn't make it into World War II. Please, Ella.
This one I like the name. Number 2, XP-67 Moonback.
Moonback.
Mcdonald aircraft. This is one of my favorites as well, Ella. The idea behind this airplane was that they wanted to make it very aerodynamically efficient. They really wanted to smooth out every possible joining angle on the airplane, especially on the leading edges of the airplane. Very futuristic look to it. It really looks like an airplane that you just scream through the air when it's flying. And it's supposed to be really agile. It just has everything there. But it just made about 400 miles per hour. This is late 44. Jet aircraft are starting to come online, and it did not really have great handling. It didn't provide the kind of maneuverability that it just looked like it should have had or what it was projected to have. It did carry 6 37mm cannons, which would have been a very, very impressive ground attack machine. And sadly, the only working model of this aircraft was lost in an accident, claiming the test pilot's life.
Bummer.
And it was pretty quickly abandoned. There was just too many of things that were coming on around it.
Right. Yeah.
I think if this airplane was on the drawing boards 5 years earlier, it probably would have gone into production. You probably would have seen it, and it probably would have made a mark. Because it had, I think, early on, anything that was making 400 miles per hour would have caught the attention.
Right.
Towards the end of World War II,
the end of World War II was a very odd, kind of turning point for aviation's history, is because you had all these very superior, top-notch propeller planes, which you almost push them to the limit. And the P-47 Thunderbolt, which was basically an engine with wings on it, that would approach very, very high speeds.
Right.
But then you had jets coming in that were, in their infancy, let's say. So you had this new kind of technology that's taking baby steps, while you have a technology, that's matured, that is just doing, top-notch stuff. The P-51 Mustang is probably one of the most beautiful airplanes ever built. But it was one of the last propeller airplanes. So,
Mac, an interesting thing that you're linking up to as well is so much money was dumped into military technology in World War II. It's exponentially explosion, and in every possible area that you can think of. Munitions, ships, things like plastics, synthetic rubbers. I mean, everything blew out in every possible direction.
Yes.
And there was enough money that if you could experiment and get people's attention, unique problems were being solved with very, very strange entries to answer the question, this particular thing that the military wanted to do. But I also think that at some point in the late 44, I think everyone started to realize this thing is won. I think people knew that, and they started to plan for what was coming next.
Right, exactly.
Who's going to survive? Who's going to join up? Who's going to combine companies? What's going to happen post World War II? I think there was a huge undercurrent that was going on with this, and this next airplane I think is a pretty good example.
So, Ella, number 1 in our list of top 10 airplanes so weird they couldn't get into World War II. Say it, Ella.
Number 1, The 173 Flying Pancake.
Flying Pancake, man.
Sometimes called the Round. This is a twin-engine airplane. It specifically was designed to try to figure out a way to get an airplane off in very, very short takeoff distance, and same thing, land in a very short distance. The thought was if they could get this to take off from a short distance, primarily looking at possibly a ship, but have good speed when it got to altitude. This airplane looks very much like a Frisbee with kind of a flattened front end to it. It was able to land and take off in extremely small spaces. One of the pilots that flew this and said that it had extremely good slow speed handling capabilities was test pilot Charles Lindbergh of solo crossing the Atlantic in 1927.
Yeah,
fame.
there it is.
This airplane caught a lot of attention, and it also generated a lot of UFO or flying saucer activity because of its very shape. It never really got past the demonstration phase as an airplane. It had some very strange failures towards the end of the program, but the airplane and those that flew it said it was an incredible airplane and had a lot of potential.
Well, if you look at
and I think some of its capabilities made their way into other airplanes. But this one's always been one of my favorites. I would have liked to have seen this flown. And it looks like it has. I've seen some home-built airplanes that have been based on this, and pretty interesting capability.
See, that's one thing too to keep in mind is that when they spend a lot of money on some kind of a prototype that goes nowhere, there's a good chance that a lot of the technology that was developed for that will just move on to another plane and and accumulate into something that's even better. But if I could just describe it, even though we're on the radio, if you can imagine like a really kind of floppy, irregular pancake with two spikes coming out of its ends, which have huge propellers on them, and then it has these long, kind of awkward-looking small landing gear, and then the cockpit is like right up on the edge of the pancake. So where does the syrup go, Switchy? Where do you put the fig butter? I'll go to you.
Between the rudders, sir. The right switch?
Okay. There it is. Okay. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Good for you. Switchy, nonverbal communication. Okay, that's good. Well, thank you very much, Coco. Let's give Coco a round of applause, please. Please, everyone. 1850 if I have to put it in. Coco. Okay. We'll call that a dribble of applause. Thank you, Coco. And why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. It's the show of lists. Stay tuned. Wow, here we are back. Hey, we're back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military. Let me start again. Start at 10. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, this is the show of lists. 2 hours of top 10 lists. Let me introduce members of the posse. Girls, get ready. If you're not ready already, get ready. Because he's here, the very famous Juan-Juan.
I'm here, the very famous Juan-Juan. Hi, Mac, the very famous Mac, and the very famous Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. Welcome, everyone, to the continuing saga of the show this evening. It's awesome. We should have a great time. I live for this, as you know.
We should point out that, as I said, get your fan. No, I didn't even have to say, get your fan ready, the female member of our...
I tell you, my fan is ready with some of the guests we've had on.
She's fanning herself for you, Juan-Juan. Can you look? Can you see what's going on?
Thank you very much.
Look, the clock's melting. Look at that.
The clock
it's like a Salvador Dali painting.
It's a dolly clock.
It's a dolly clock.
In Roman numerals, no less.
Huh. Maybe I should.
I learned Roman numerals in school. Did you, Mac?
No. Who taught you? Plato?
Juan-Juan, what is MMMXL?
Wait a minute. MM 2000.
Yeah,
XL.
MMMXL.
MMM 3000.
Oh my goodness.
X before L. That's 40. 3040.
Wow, fascinating.
What would MMXF be then? for Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Right. Hey, I've got...
right, you didn't give me an answer. What are you, a spokesperson?
I've got a Patriots Super Bowl hat, but when they only had 5 Super Bowls.
Oh, this is...
I still have it in my collection.
His famous hat.
Made by a famous... it's not a knockoff.
What was that? Go ahead.
It's made by the same company that makes the Red Sox hats.
Go ahead.
And it has the Roman numerals of every Super Bowl.
Yes.
And one of them is incorrect.
Whoa, okay.
I'll have to show you this hat one of these days.
Can I buy that from you?
I called him about it. I called the manufacturer back. I called the Patriot store, then I called the manufacturer.
Really?
I mean, the Patriot store people had no clue what I was talking about.
Wow.
I don't think they even knew what Roman numerals were.
What a surprise. Okay, all right.
I'll show it to you, and you will say, yes, it's wrong. And I actually had to look it up just to make sure I wasn't on drugs or something.
Well, I understand that you and
always
Matt
good to check
taught by the Romans.
Okay. Sorry, Switchy.
Hey, I'm proud that I'm able to read like this the Roman numerals at the end of every movie when they indicate when the release date of the movie is.
That's a fascinating talent to have these days.
That's something I've always wanted to look up. Maybe you know it because you went to film school. Is why do they use Roman numerals? I think only 1 or 2 times did I see the actual release date of a movie in just Arabic numbers.
They tried to look highbrow.
Oh, highbrow.
What else would it be? Why are they all lying at the beginning?
Like I read the ones after the Three Stooges shorts, and they're very quick. You got to read it quick, and it's kind of like fuzzy because of how old the print is. In 1936.
Okay. Wow, this is fascinating. Next week it's going to be cave art with Juan-Juan.
Okay. Roman numeral talk. Come on.
Roman numeral talk. Okay. All right. I can think of a million dirty jokes, right?
Just give us one.
Well, look at the XXV1s on her. Sorry.
I'm sorry I asked.
That was right off the top of my head, so I'm sorry. Sorry, Ella. Okay. Why don't we get to what we're doing here tonight? And this is Night of Lists. Okay, so in the previous segment, we talked top 10 weirdest airplanes. So weird they couldn't get into World War II. And now we're going to do, I know, one of Switchy's favorite subjects, cryptids. The top 10 weirdest cryptids ever reported, ever seen. Is that adequate for your intro there, Switchy Rooney?
Yes, there actually probably are a lot more. We're talking about really strange cryptids.
Very strange.
We could argue that all cryptids are a little bit odd and not, otherwise they wouldn't be called cryptids.
Describe a cryptid.
These are some of the really weird ones.
Give the thumbnail description of a cryptid.
A cryptid simply means an animal that is unknown, that is undocumented. Like a Bigfoot, or a Loch Ness monster.
Oh, okay.
Or a Mothman, winged creature.
It's claimed to exist, but never proven to exist.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Well, Coco used to have a dog that looked more like a wolf. Was he?
Yes, but he was part wolf, so he really didn't fall into the cryptid category unless he was chasing you. Then you thought he was a werewolf.
As long as you stayed on all fours and not tying.
Yeah, there's a couple neighbors that may be stretching the term what neighbors are. We thought it'd be funny to tease him, and they didn't enjoy the
What's having the wolf walk up to the door? I mean, but wasn't he just like an unusually large animal anyway, or?
No, he was half timber wolf and half melon.
He's a melon is a big dog anyway. Okay, wow. Okay,
right.
Yeah, wow.
That was Jack.
Animal.
Yeah, he was a great dog, man. I was thinking about him today for some reason. I don't know why. So
what happened to him?
I remember him sitting.
He got old and passed away.
Old age, died of old age.
Sorry.
Yep.
Jack was sitting under my chair throughout almost the entire afternoon at one of Cobra's galas up at
soirees. Yes, one of the soirees.
He bonded with Jack. Yep, I remember that.
He met me at the gate.
Yes.
Questioned my credentials. Checked my bona fides with his
sniffed them.
His teeth. And then when Cobra came around the corner and said, "Hey, Juan," blah blah blah, then Jack knew that I was okay and escorted me into the property.
Okay, right.
And after that, we were best buds.
Because you were feeding them. You were feeding them lamb chops.
I was not feeding them people food. No,
right.
It was not.
Okay, all right.
Maybe he expected it, but I don't think he was. He wasn't begging for food or anything. He was just hanging out with me. And maybe he was checking me out at first, make sure I didn't indicate I was there for any kind of foul play or anything.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were going to say as a partner. He was checking you out as a partner.
I will say this, that all the dogs that are here, especially the male dogs.
Yes.
nobody gets between them and Mrs. Cobra. She has the ability to get their complete loyalty. Absolutely amazing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Ella, you saw a picture of Bear. Bear is in that picture I sent you with the pig Zeppelin. So.
He's beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's what's going on up at Coco's farm. So anyway, listen, Switchy.
Okay. Ella, when you come up here, you got to check out his compound.
Slap yourself.
That would be wonderful.
Slap yourself awake there, Switch. Okay, so we're going to do the top 10 odd cryptids. Odd cryptids, right?
I thought we'd done it already.
Did we?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so why don't we go to Ella? Ella, please, you have the
10.
list. Ella, you have the list of the top 10 odd cryptids, right? Let's go to number 10, please.
Number 10, the Specter of Winterfell.
The Specter.
Yes, the Specter of Winterfell. November 12th, 1967, Woking, Surrey, England. Philip Freeman and Angela Carter. They're driving along in his Triumph convertible with the top up, fortunately. And there's a light drizzle. And so they've just started up, so the engine really isn't warm enough. And the windshield's starting to fog up a bit. So he pulls over to give it some time for the defroster to catch up. And then he steps outside, and then once he gets back in, he looks through the passenger window and sees. Well, the first thing that catches him is there's this really, really awful smell, a bad smell. And anybody that looks at these cryptid reports knows that sometimes Bigfoots and sometimes other cryptids do seem to give off a pretty foul odor. Well, as he gets into the car and he looks in the passenger window, he sees something that looks like the size of a head, but there's no features on it. It's featureless. And his girlfriend sees the expression on his face. She turns and looks and freaks out. And it's not very clear what it is, but it's sort of a head that's featureless. Then there's sort of an arm projection that goes up on one side. Now, as he gets in the car to take off, this thing has moved around to the back of the car, and the bottom of it is kind of almost like a cone or whatever. It looks a little bit like a poor man's Flatwoods monster, but not not a complete Flatwoods monster. It has kind of that same strange look. And then that was it. They took off, got the heck out of there. They reported it. They were really freaking out. It seemed like something really happened, but we don't even know what this is. I mean, was it even a creature? Was it robotic? Was it some kind of an apparition? So the Specter of Winterfell actually is a pretty good name. And how about, let's do number 9 now.
Number 9, the Purple Blobs.
Ah, yes, the Purple Blobs. John Keel. This is March 31. 1967. This is in the year of the Garuda, when he went down to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to investigate the Mothman and all the other strange incidents there. At this point in time, he was in what they call the Chief Cornstalk hunting ground. Chief Cornstalk was the Shawnee warrior that was murdered back in the 1700s. He was actually a peacemaker. And some believe that he uttered a curse. They talk about the Chief Cornstalk curse, which actually is nonsense, but that's another story.
His name was Chief.
So he's in the Chief Cornstalk hunting ground.
His name was Chief Cornstalk?
What's that?
His name was Chief Cornstalk?
Chief Cornstalk, yes.
That's not a very heroic name. They usually call it like Chief Raging Bull or something, right? Chief Cornstalk.
Yeah, you take what you get, I guess.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, wisdom from Switchy. Go ahead, please.
So anyway, John Keel is he's gone to different areas around here because there's been a lot of UFOs that go overhead. But this one particular night, he's noticing these purple blobs, these lights that are kind of moving around in the trees. And at one point, now this isn't in the book, The Mothman Prophecies, this other part. He talks about this in one of his lectures. These things came down and surrounded him and started swirling around him, almost as if they were some kind of intelligence. People that studied the UFO phenomena find that there are many claims that some of these may actually be sentient beings. They may actually be some kind of skyfish or something like that. Well, John Keel talked to a farmer the next day because he had seen kind of in one of the hollers, he'd seen the whole forest area was glowing purple. So he asked this farmer about it the next day, and he said, well, yes, that happens sometimes, but I stay the hell away from there because one of my dogs went into the forest when it was lit up like that and never came back. So what were they? Were they some kind of intelligent beings or whatever? It was just a very interesting encounter. And now we can go to the next one.
In the top 10 weird cryptids. Number 8, please.
Sorry.
That's okay, Ellen.
The Dover Demon.
Dover Demon.
Yes, the Dover Demon. Yes, in your neck of the woods, you Easterners, Northeasterners, Dover, Massachusetts, April 21st. William Bartlett and a couple of friends, they're driving along with these old stone walls that you see out there. And they see this thing that first they think is some kind of animal. And as they get a better look at it, it looks a little bit like what has become known as a gray, but not really. It had kind of a big, bulbous, almost a figure eight head, a small, little spindly body, and skinny arms and legs. And it could be on, at this point in time, it was on all fours, just slowly crawling around along the this old stone wall.
Yes.
And they reported it, they freaked them out. A couple hours later, you find out there's another guy who they didn't know each other. John Baxter saw the same creature, apparently, the same description. This was walking on two legs and was sort of holding onto a tree for support. Called it kind of monkey-like, but also said it was it had the same kind of strange-looking head. And then that was it. These are a couple of these where a few people see these things and the descriptions match, but that's it.
Right.
And there wasn't people think, well, maybe alien or whatever, but there were no strange light seen, and that was
it's like a strange creature. You hear a lot about these things. You hear a lot about where people will there'll be few witnesses.
Sometimes they're like a one-off cryptid.
Right. Yeah, like one-off cryptid. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So anyway, top 10 very weird cryptids. Let's go to the next one, please, Ella.
Number 7, the Riverside Monster.
Yes, the Riverside Monster.
Yes, this is also known as the Wetzel Encounter. Mr. Wetzel, this is November 8th, 1958, California, near Riverside. The river there has, there's been a lot of rain and it's been overflowing. And he sees this creature, which is about 6 feet tall. It doesn't fit anything. The head is, it's kind of the size of a Bigfoot, perhaps, but the head is more like a scarecrow, he said. He said it has scales, but they're not like fish scales. They're kind of like, they look like leaves, the way it hugs around the body. There are no ears, no nose that you can see, but it has a beak-like mouth. So this is like a strange, there used to be, when I was a kid, I had something that was called a funny face maker for Popeye, and you could put in different faces to make this match. This is almost like a funny face maker for cryptids, and this is like one of these one-shot deals that nobody else has seen. The eyes were kind of fluorescing; they were like fluorescents. The legs came out of the side of its torso.
Yes,
and it had long, spindly arms. So, and that was just one of these. And the local newspapers dubbed it the Abominable No Man.
Hey, that's not bad. Not bad for the.
Very clever. Not bad. Not bad for a journalist, right?
Let me ask you this, Switchy. Okay, I don't think it's on the list, but what did the guys down at Pascagoula, Mississippi, when they encountered their alien, weren't they shaped like carrots with one big eye or something?
They were kind of well, they didn't even have eyes. They had like the carrot nose and ears. They were like androids, robots, or whatever. Grayish skin, grayish wrinkled skin. During Charles Hickson, during his regressive hypnosis, one of his sessions, he said something about seeing he was inside the craft and there was a partition and then there was a window there. He saw figures that looked more human. Which is something I didn't know about, but then implying that perhaps if this was a real experience, that these things were androids, robots, or whatever, just sent to retrieve them and to bring them into the craft, and they weren't the actual pilots of that craft.
Or guys in costumes. I mean, they were literally dressed like big carrots or something, weren't they? I mean, maybe it was just a guy.
Maybe their uniforms, yes.
Next, this is the top 10 very weird cryptids. Top 10, please. Ella, next one, please. Next cryptid.
Yes, Number 6, the devil monkey.
The
devil monkey. Now, this thing is seen all over the place, and you have to be careful because some of the features of this thing are, people describe it baboon-like, kangaroo-like, dog-like. It's like it has combined characteristics of different animals. So it's possible that this is not exactly the same creature, but the thing is, it's been something like it has been seen all over Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, Kentucky, New Hampshire, and even in Mount Vernon, Illinois had a sighting. Sometimes they're seen with shaggy fur, but one of the characteristics is they do walk, but they also can leap or jump. They're about 3 to 4 feet tall, and again, and small pointed ears, like I say, baboon-like body, and oftentimes the face or the nose is more like a canine. In Chester, Pennsylvania, Chester County, Pennsylvania, James Mcdonald saw it, or saw something like it, called it half man, half beast, covered with hair, moved by walking or leaping, almost like a kangaroo. Obviously not a kangaroo. Yep. This had large red eyes, which we've heard many times before. So this is just one of these cryptids that, we like to put names on things. Yes. So it may not be exactly the same thing. Actually, there was a sighting, some weird creatures in November of '66, north of Point Pleasant. Mm-hmm. Well, when the Mothman stuff was starting, Cecil Lucas, his dogs were alerted. He goes outside and sees 3 strange creatures covered with dark fur. George Dudding, who wrote about the devil monkey, thinks that they might have been devil monkeys. Mary Heyer, who's the lady that worked with John Keel, in her column, she called them man bears. So there you go, another description. But again, people are seeing these odd creatures that don't fit any particular category.
I would love...
And sometimes they're... Go ahead.
I would love to have a baboon-like body. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could swing from tree to tree.
Movie to me.
Yeah.
On Sci-Fi Channel Saturday night.
Behind the scenes in Max.
It was an interesting reveal there, Mac.
Why? What do you think?
Putting that down on my notepad for a later time of my choosing to bring that back up. And I noticed that Ella put her sunglasses on when you made that remark.
Wow.
So there's a lot happening. Here.
Yeah, a lot of it. It's sort of an undercurrent. Is that what you mean?
Let's go.
There's definitely an alternating undercurrent right now.
Baboons are very strong, and they're like the kings of the jungle. Unless you run up against a lion or an elephant. Okay.
Or a gorilla.
Or a gorilla. Okay. All right. Now, wait. Hang on a second there, Irish whiskey. So you're saying a baboon and a gorilla would win?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
You sure?
I think so.
Wouldn't a baboon go nuts on a gorilla?
Ella, I have an Andrew Jackson, a dead relative, to give to you to place on the baboon versus gorilla fight.
3 rounds.
I say gorilla wins.
Thank you, Ella.
You don't think the baboon would go?
It's a no-brainer.
Jump around like crazy. Okay, all right. Let's look into it. $20 there, Cece? $20? Uh-oh.
Done.
That means times 100.
It's making his crystal ding.
Yeah, that's apple juice. Okay, all right, let's go. All right, let's say baboon, gorilla. Let's see what happens. All right, so why don't we go to the next weird cryptid, please? Countdown, top 10.
Number 5, Hopkinsville Goblins.
Yes, we all know the story about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins, August 21st, 1955. Billy Ray, he goes out, there's a big family gathering, he goes out to get some water at the pump. He sees a oval-shaped object moving across the sky and landing behind the hill. Now, the behavior of these creatures, we may very well be dealing with some kind of alien life form, but other people think that, no, it wasn't really... they aren't really ET. They are actually from the Earth. What happens is he gets somebody to come out with him because nobody's believing that what he's seen. Then they see this creature coming out of the woods. It's about 3.5 feet tall, silvery. It's got a big bulbous head, pointed ears. The classic little green man, although they're not necessarily green. Huge glowing eyes and very long arms.
Yes.
And they're besieged by these creatures. They get out their guns and start shooting at these things. They can take the blast full in the chest and just roll away and get up and run away. One of them was coming out of the house, and this thing was on top. They could hear it walking across the tin roof, and it reached down to grab them. So apparently these little guys were not particularly afraid of the residents of Hopkinsville.
Mm-hmm.
They actually got together in the car, went to report to the sheriff. Sheriff came back, sees the house all shut up, sees they're all freaked out. Dr. J.L.N. Hynek and Blue Book investigated this, and they drew illustrations of the creatures and so forth. It sounded like when their shotgun hit the creature, it sounded like a tin bucket being hit.
Wow.
And where they came back and everything was quiet for a while, and then the creatures came back. So we nobody knows what they are. Mm-hmm. It seems like there was a real experience there, but if these are really creatures from another world investigating Earthlings, they went about it a very strange way.
I think there was a story that the reason, the moment they knew something was up was that they heard their dog scratching at the door to be let in. And they let him in. The dog just like made a beeline for the cellar and hid down there. And the next thing they knew,
that's a bad sign.
All these creatures, that's
one of them.
Should go down there with them.
There was a documentary made, where they do a reenactment. It's called Monsters of the UFO, and apparently one of the kids he remembered what happened. He reported what happened, and you could see these things through the windows and so forth. He after that incident, he ended up going to church every Sunday for the rest of his life.
Well, that would do
it. That could possibly do it.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, top 10 very weird cryptids. We're counting them down. Please, Ella.
Yes, number 4 is very interesting. Car engine stopping Bigfoot.
The car engine stopping Bigfoot.
Car engine stopping Bigfoot.
That's why it's titled that way, because we could imagine a Bigfoot stopping a car just by stepping out in front of it.
Yes.
But this was a little bit different. This is near Marlington, West Virginia. And near the state forest there, October 1960, a gentleman named W.D. Doc Priestley. He's driving along he'd been on an excursion with his buddies, and they're up in a bus, and he's following behind them. Well, all of a sudden, his car stalls and rolls to a stop. He looks up to his left, and he sees what looks pretty much like a classic Bigfoot. But the thing is that it seems to have some effect on his combustion engine when its hair is standing up on end. And he's like, what the heck? So his buddies realize, apparently, that he's not behind him. They're up ahead, turning around to come back.
Wow.
The Bigfoot, or whatever it is, decides to recede into the woods, and then he's able to start his car again. Now, he doesn't tell his buddies at that point what happened because, well, for obvious reasons, probably. Mm-hmm. So he takes off again, starts to get a short distance down the road. The car starts to chug and stall again, and there's sparking underneath the hood. And sure enough, there's the same Bigfoot or his kissing cousin, and standing by the road, hair standing on end,
yes,
and apparently having some kind of interaction, like we've heard UFOs and phantom armies and other ghosts and so forth, draining batteries, etc.
Right.
Something was interacting with the combustion engine of the car and actually burned out his engine.
Wow. That's weird, man.
Yes.
That's really strange.
Now, that's a weird Bigfoot.
Yeah, right, really. Please, Yellow, next in top 10 countdown of very weird cryptids.
Okay, number 3, Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
The Talking Mongoose.
Jeff, and it's spelled G-E-F, and they know that because the Talking Mongoose told them so.
The Talking Mongoose.
This is the Isle of Man. Back in 1931.
Okay.
September 1931 is when this thing first shows up. James Irving, now the father of the house, he's married. His daughter, Vori, is the young lady that interacts with this thing a good deal. He's an educated man. He's a retired piano salesman.
Uh-huh. Who are we talking about, Switch? I'm sorry, I got lost. Are we talking about Mr. Irving, or are we talking about the Talking Cryptid?
Okay, we're talking about... Man. Well, James Irving is an educated man. It's his household.
Sorry, I just try to keep. You can't tell the players without the scorecards.
Go ahead.
Right, okay, no problem. Okay, so he at one point in mid-September, he sees this weasel-like animal and around the house, and it's making weird noises like dog and cat noises.
Okay.
And he finds out that it will mimic any other noises. You make any other like animal noises or whatever, it would mimic it. So he. It gets into the house. They can hear scratching in the house, so they're assuming it's in there.
Yes.
And it's almost like it's trying to learn speech. They hear it making this gurgling noise or whatever, and eventually they start hearing it talking in a high-pitched voice. Now, they don't always see it. Sometimes they're just hearing a voice, kind of like a poltergeist situation. But this thing, it's a really long, involved story. This thing has conversations with them. It knows other languages. But it's basically a mongoose. It tells them that it had died in India in 1852 in New Delhi, in Delhi rather, and he was chased and shot by hunters.
Yes.
So this is a reincarnated cryptid from India.
Well, this is
on the Great Hindu Wheel.
They had psychics and everything come over to check it out.
Talking Mongoose.
A lot of newspaper people, and they would hear the voices, and they thought, well, maybe this girl has been ventriloquist and can throw her voice and so forth.
Yes.
But it seemed like there was something really weird going on.
Yes.
A guy named a psychic named Harry Price wanted to come, but the Mongoose didn't want him to come. He said because he was a skeptic.
Said the Mongoose is fussy now.
This Captain James Mcdonald in the place, and again, a lot of people would but the mother and father and the girl would actually see it. Sometimes,
yes,
it would eat people food. It's bizarre,
yes.
But it got very abusive. Sometimes it could swear a blue streak.
See,
Chef the Mongoose.
You know what happened?
So,
well, obviously, to get to the Isle of Man, this Mongoose was a sailor. We understand sailors can have salty language.
You know what happened though? He got so famous you couldn't look him in the eye, right? Okay, go ahead, please. Switching.
Yeah. Anyway. It would sometimes objects would be thrown. It could knock on the walls in any part of the house. Again, implying something more like a poltergeist. Again, it would have to be kind of an elaborate hoax for the whole thing to be a farce.
Get a talking mongoose.
Could have been.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. But what would the mongoose say? Would he speak like in a British accent, like get me out of here? Or?
It was a very, very high pitched voice.
Well, that was
it would speak other languages sometimes. It would supposedly go in other parts of the island and see what was going on. It would come back and tell them what they saw, what somebody was reading or whatever, or talking about, and they would be verified. So again, it's a crazy story.
Could I just say something?
But Fate magazine interviewed Vori when she had been the young lady in 1970.
Yes,
and she said that yes, it did really happen. She wasn't trying to do this for attention, or she wasn't a ventriloquist, and she was really angry about the whole thing because she was made fun of by the students.
Wow.
And this thing kind of disappeared by about 38 or 39.
Yes,
and it didn't have any long conversations with anybody, or when you read the book and some of the back and forth, it boggles the mind.
Yes.
Because we know that we have the Bell Witch situation where it sounds a little bit like the Bell Witch enactments, although the Bell Witch thing was very, very violent and nasty.
Okay.
But it's a wild, wild story.
Yeah.
Well. And it's good for if you want to be entertained, check out Jeff, the talking mongoose.
It would have to be wild if it's about a talking mongoose. So, okay, top 10 really weird cryptids. Please, Ella, next one, please.
Number 2, the Loveland Frogman.
Oh.
Loveland, Ohio Frogman, yes.
Yes.
1972, the Miami River. There's the police officer is making his regular rounds, and he sees this. First, he thinks it's just an animal, a dead animal on the ground, and so he goes. It's like a dead dog, maybe it's been hit by a car, or an injured animal. And he goes to take a look at it, and there's this kind of a 4-foot humanoid figure with a face like a frog and a wide mouth.
Wow.
Jumps over the guardrail and jumps into the water. Now you find out that if you go back in time, in 1955. In that same area, a businessman saw 3 figures in the same general area near the bridge. They were wrinkled, he said, no hair, wide mouths like a frog, and one held some kind of a wand that was giving off blue sparks, which sounds a lot like some of the other, like out of folklore, the little people holding wands,
yes.
or even UFO pilots holding some kind of device.
Right.
So you have that correlation now. It's the guy's name is Ray Shockley, I believe, was the police officer. 2 weeks later, well, he reports this. I mean, he was sorry later that he did.
A cop.
But he's 2 weeks later, his partner sees essentially the same thing.
Yes.
And he went through the same thing. He sees this thing laying there. He thinks, well, maybe it's an injured animal. And this thing gets up, and this one's 5 to 6 feet tall, matted hair, leathery skin.
Yes.
And it jumps into the water.
Are they wearing clothes? Are they wearing clothes? Are they wearing clothes? Okay,
no,
all right.
Clothes.
So they're big frogs. Okay, go ahead.
Not very stylish. Yeah, okay. Now, you find out that in 1696, French missionaries encountered the local Native Americans, and they warned them about a demon that lived in that river. So whatever this is, the folklore goes way back.
Right.
And the postscript to this is James Renner, who writes about this in It Came from Ohio, talks about how he tracked down Shockley. And Shockley, after a while, just said, "No, you know what? I must have seen an iguana. I was mistaken." And so people forgot about it for years.
Okay.
He went to talk to Shockley, and Shockley was very reluctant to talk to him. But as Renner was leaving, he said, "You know what? It wasn't an iguana. It wasn't a lizard.
It was a frogman.
It was big."
Wow.
And that's all he said.
Huh. I think it's
just a quick footnote. If they were clothed frogmen, they would have been the Ninja Turtles, frog turtle things.
There you go.
That was covered. That's why they didn't have the clothes.
I just think it's ironic.
Rules, things of that nature.
I think it's ironic that
Alligator shoes, obviously.
I think it's ironic that French missionaries would be warning people about large frogs.
Yes, considering
they were warned about frogs.
Yeah. Considering about the appetite and the menu and
Coco connected the dots there. Okay. All right,
I didn't think those frogs would stand a chance with French missionaries.
I mean, listen, I don't want to talk about our great allies, the French. Who would eat a frog? Who would eat a frog's leg? Ella,
I've tried them. They're quite good.
Ella, did you just raise your hand?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was laughing.
Oh, good.
No,
Okay.
But I would try it. I'd like to try it.
A frog? You would eat a frog? Oh, man.
Tastes like chicken.
Everything tastes like
frogs.
Chicken. But enough to eat them? Enough to eat one?
I'd try it, yeah.
I mean, kissing a frog
is
not bad enough.
Mac, did you ever dissect one in school?
No, I was out that day.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I did.
Our school couldn't afford them, so they keep putting the frog back together.
Had to go out and catch them. Huh?
They dissected hot dogs instead.
Sew it back together. Give it to the next class. Hot dogs. Anyway, listen. Okay. So we're at the end of the top 10 countdown of really weird cryptids. Please, Ella.
Number 1, the Enfield Horror.
The Enfield Horror is cool. Go ahead, please, Switchy.
April 26, 1973. And Mr. and Mrs. McDaniel. Now, they've been out, and their kids hear some kind of scratching at the door. And they don't bother to answer it. It kind of freaks them out. And then later on, the scratching is over by the air conditioner. So finally, Mr. and Mrs. McDaniel come home, and the kids tell them that, something weird is going on. So the scratching comes again. Mr. McDaniel opens the door, and then there's this creature about 4.5 to 5 feet tall. It's gray. It's got pink flashlight eyes. It has 2 arms coming out of its front, not the sides. And it seems to have 3 legs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now there's an unusual cryptid.
3 legs.
And it's making a hissing noise. Mr. McDaniel slams the door, goes and gets a handgun. And he goes up, opens the door again. It's still there, and he shoots it point blank, and it takes off. They find out that a half hour before, Greg Garrett, who is the kid that lives behind them, he encountered the same thing. He's 10 years old, and he encountered the same creature. He said the only difference. Now both of them just saw this quickly. His version was the only difference was it was covered in slime.
Slime, of course.
And it attacked him. It went after him, and it stepped on one of his shoes, and it had claws or whatever, and it ripped his shoes up. But it took off. So the police get called, and there's police all over the place. And a little bit later on, there's 5 hunters out. Again, they don't know what's going on.
Yep.
And it's near the local railroad tracks there. They see the same thing. And it just kind of disappears into the night. They found out that they actually found footprints. There were 3 footprints. 2 of the legs had like 6 pads on it.
Yes.
And the third leg, the distinguishing characteristic about it was much smaller.
Oh, okay.
So this thing shows up. It freaks people the hell out, and it's one of a kind. I mean, this is even stranger. At least the Dover Demon has a rough resemblance, and some of these other ones have rough resemblances to Greys or Bigfoots or other things that people claim to have encountered. The Enfield monster is definitely, if for no other reason, it's a horror because it's almost like it was patched together in Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory.
And it was like ping-ponging around town, right? Isn't that how it got around, like kind of ping-ponging around, pogoing around, pogoing like on a pogo stick. Yeah.
A lot of these have A lot of these critters seem to have that ability. That skill.
It's weird to see something so strange and have people down there, separate, like the hunters. They don't know what's going on. They describe the same thing that the kids did, So, hey, listen, Switchy, let's give Switch a round of applause, please. Both fake and real. Thank you, Switchy. Okay, top 10 really weird cryptids. Thank you, Switch. A tale from the French, I guess. So why don't we do this on our night of lists? Why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll be right back after this. So you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Oh, we're going to turn it over to, get ready, girls. Juan-Juan is here. I should say Coco's here, and also Switchblade Steve is here, and the beautiful Ella, the psychic, is here. Our favorite redhead west of the Mississippi. Ella, I'll just talk to you. She's on her bed. Can you believe this? You have to be a TV show.
It's an awesome look, isn't it?
Right, yes. Okay.
Who needs a backdrop when you're sitting on your bed? Look at those pillows.
Sorry.
Amazing.
We're sorry, folks, that we're a radio show. But anyway, listen. So why don't we do this? We're going to do this. We're going to do, JJ felt left out that he didn't have his top 10. So we're going to go to it now very quickly. Top 10. Now, what is the top 10 reasons you love Downton Abbey?
It's Downton Abbey, by the way.
That's the one reason I hate it.
I like
Go ahead.
The British drama series Downton Abbey that was shown on PBS and ITV overseas.
Forever and ever. Go ahead, number 10.
6 seasons, I believe. And in my hot little hands, by the way, I was, during some of the breaks, I was thumbing through Behind the Scenes at Downton Abbey.
Yes.
Great book. The Chronicles of Downton Abbey.
Yes. Wow, it's like he's on PBS.
The World of Downton Abbey.
Look at this.
So, Juan-Juan, how much money do I have to give you to make you stop talking about Downton Abbey?
In the complete.
This is like a PBS ad right now. Please,
$100 and you get
Abbey goes Hawaiian.
You get a tote bag. Yeah.
Anyway, here's quickly the 10 reasons why I like Downton Abbey. First off, Downton Abbey is a good historical based drama. I mean, the characters are fictional, but a lot of the backdrops of the story is based on real historical things, and it starts off the day after the Titanic sinking, and it ends up in the 1930s.
How can you go wrong? Number 9, please.
So good history.
Go.
Number 2, love stories. Number 9, love stories.
Love stories.
Fantastic relationships going on here. Matthew and Mary, and Anna and Mr. Bates, and even love stories of the downstairs. You have the upstairs aristocracy, the downstairs.
Was Mr. Bates, Master Bates?
I was just going to say, his name isn't Master.
Mr. John Bates. Great love stories.
Come on.
These love stories make you cry.
We're crying now, believe me.
Number 8. Number 8 of the top 10 reasons why I like Downton Abbey is the music. Great soundtrack. It's very
striking soundtrack. Striking.
Yes.
Because everyone knows from the time of the music from the Titanic sinking
Makes you
to
cry.
the 1930s was an absolute rip in the musical world.
Right.
That's true. And the backdrop of all that was not only the sinking of the Titanic, but we had the Spanish flu pandemic.
Yes.
We had
all the good stuff.
What else?
Yes.
World War I.
World War I.
Trench
little
warfare,
skirmish there.
The Irish
telephone.
War of Independence.
Yep. Irish
Marconi's little invention.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
All kinds of stuff. All right.
Interesting. Go ahead.
Where
Next
are we?
one.
Number 6? Number 7?
Let's say 6.
Number 7, right?
7. Yes.
Fashions. Now, you know, Mac, that I love movies and stories about women's fashions.
Wow.
Or couture.
Couture.
Ellie, you're into couture? You're into women's fashion?
Sure.
Just looking at Ella's face as she listens to this, horror is the only thing that comes to it.
The guy's talking like this.
What the audience can't see is that she's taking the pillow and she's put it over herself and she's smacking the pillow.
The costumes are fantastic.
I was afraid she was taking pills, but they were just M&Ms.
The authenticity of the costuming is meticulous.
Okay, go ahead.
It's great.
The spit was supposed to go 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
I'm going to come to Juan-Juan's defense here. It is true when you watch some of the documentaries afterwards.
Yes.
They went into incredible lengths of detail to get it right historically.
Well, why not?
From the costumes to the settings and the
That's right.
and even
you
some of the
said it better.
And there are there are things out of history that would be way out of place if not done properly.
Right.
And Juan-Juan, the way the the advances, like the telephone comes in and all that stuff, and the way they deal with it. Even a toaster was kind of flummoxing them for a while.
The toaster was introduced downstairs with Mrs. Patmore was saying, what do I do with this? How does this work?
Ella.
And she's fascinated by the toaster. And then Lady Rose is fascinated by the gramophone and introduces it to Lord Grantham.
Ella,
what's the next one on the list?
On behalf of the show.
Number 6.
Hold on. Ella, on behalf of the show, I apologize. Go ahead. Next one, please. Juan-Juan.
Number 6 is the amazing camera work and the set pieces that are contained within the series.
Whose idea
A lot of it was filmed in Highclere Castle, which is a place that you can visit, and they had to be very careful inside the castle, and it was incredibly what they had to go through to really do the filming and be careful in that place. And it was fantastic.
I can't wait.
A lot of the interior scenes were done in the castle, and others were done at Ealing Studios.
But
great job by the cinematographer and the grips and camera crews.
Wow. All union.
You had to love it.
Top 10 reasons why Juan-Juan likes Downton Abbey. Top 10 reasons why Juan-Juan likes Downton Abbey. Go.
Okay, where are we? Number 5? I haven't track.
Please.
I think you're at like 3 or 4.
I think it's
2. I'm not sure.
2.
There's a lot of subplots that aren't hard to follow. That's what some British dramas you go, you really have to play it back and rewind it to see what the heck's going on.
Yes.
The subplots are easy to follow, and they are interrelated.
Made for Americans
throughout the entire series.
Yeah, good.
So there's all kinds of storylines going on.
And Juan-Juan, the upstairs people and downstairs people kind of get equal show.
They respect each other. You're very correct.
It's just a cheap rip-off of upstairs, downstairs.
That's all.
They both got equal.
They just get along.
This costs more money.
Please.
There was a lot of time spent downstairs as much as there was upstairs.
Right.
Which I believe is the same thing that happened in the storyline of upstairs, downstairs, the 1970s.
Wow.
Show.
Okay.
Yeah, but they only had $20 for special effects.
Meow.
Yeah,
okay.
Really.
All right. Really. Okay, so we're at the end of the list. What is the number one reason Juan-Juan
We're at
why?
the number 1 already?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure
My God, I thought we were at it an hour ago.
The number 1 reason I love Downton Abbey is that
Juan-Juan, it was
almost at every episode, I had a tear in my eye, either because of how the episode ended, how the season may have ended, how it was previewed to for the upcoming season, and especially the Christmas special. There was always a Christmas special at the end of the season, and boy, oh boy, you better have your big box of tissues ready because you needed it.
Now, I've got one more.
Go ahead,
Forgive me,
please.
Okay,
lady and gentlemen,
lay it on me.
Go ahead.
Julian Fellows, who wrote this masterpiece.
Yes.
He did, how many characters? About 30 characters. He's juggling through this whole thing.
Wow.
He was an actor on Monarch of the Glen for a while. I mean, that's the kind of thing he did. But he produced this. He writes this incredible show, and also in an interview, he gives credit to the Americans because it was America, he said, that first introduced storytelling where you would have several different subplots going on at the same time.
Yeah,
Several
right.
threads going on.
In the old storytelling days, you went from A to B, and you didn't have all those other side things.
Linear.
But so he gave credit to American literature for establishing that, and that's what he used to the utmost to tell the story of Downton Abbey.
Obviously, then he never read Dickens.
Who did? Hey, listen, Juan-Juan, I thought what was the last reason?
TV, though.
What was the last reason you were going to give?
Switch's point was exactly dead on. That's pointed out in one of the books in the World of Downton Abbey.
What was the
forward by Julian
We got
Fellows.
5 minutes.
What's your favorite book, Juan-Juan?
We can't. We got to do my.
Okay. Sorry.
Actually, I like the complete scripts, but I only have season 1.
Oh, why?
Sometimes Mrs. and I do role play.
Oh.
Really?
Oh.
We might do dress up too, which is
upstairs, downstairs. I can see it now.
Well, next Exeter Festival, we're going to do a Downton Abbey segment.
You are.
With a UFO kind of.
We'll be out of town.
So we'll work in a cryptid deal,
Okay.
So Juan-Juan, do you like Victoria too?
Oh, I love Victoria. I think one of these days I'm going to do my top 10 British dramas. And Victoria's right up there.
Excellent.
So, talk about historical accuracy. It's just amazing.
Right.
Just
all
to get
kinds
this
of inventions,
in. Just to get it in.
I feel like it's time that I need to remind everyone you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Why don't we,
thank you for the opportunity for me to share my opinions.
Talk about throwing stuff in. Why don't we do When we do the top,
Thank you, Ella.
when we do the top 10 NASA conspiracies, just so I can put it in the promo for the show, because this is the show of a list tonight. Okay, so we've got the top 10 NASA conspiracies. Now, here's what's weird about NASA. They've done all these really fabulous things when you think about it. Okay, they've done some great engineering over the years. But because they're a government agency, they kind of like plod along. You know what I mean? They could have been much more streamlined. They could have had much more. I think they could have had more success if they weren't like political and stuff like that. But anyway, the conspiracy people really get on NASA all the time. Okay. They're, for some reason, Coco has an alien with him.
He's hugging me.
Oh, is he really?
After all that Downton Abbey,
Wow.
I figured I could release my relationship here with the
really,
alien.
yeah? Okay. All right. It looks like you're kind of hugging back, but that's
We've
another
got
show.
kind of a tear in our eye now.
Please. So, Ella, just to get it in, why don't we go the top 10 NASA conspiracies, please? Number 10.
Number 10. Did NASA fake the moon landings?
Now, that's the biggest conspiracy out there, okay? And the reason that people jump on this is that they say that there's no stars in the background. When they're on the moon, when the astronauts are on the moon, you cannot see stars in the background. And they say the reason is that because the moon's surface is so reflective, it washes out the stars. And they proved that. They proved it because they, I think, someone landed a lander on the moon and had a camera on it. And you can't, no matter what, when you're on the moon, you cannot see the stars around you, which is odd because there's no atmosphere. Coco, am I wrong here?
Correct.
On? But anyway.
On both aspects, you're correct.
Okay. Next, please, Elma, top 10 NASA conspiracies.
What about the Van Allen belts?
You know?
Aren't you going to explain those away?
I wear them all the time. You know? I like them on the jeans. Next, please.
I'm more of a Van Allen suspenders kind of man myself, but that's just me.
Number 9.
They're my favorite.
Number 9, NASA conspiracies.
Number 9, is NASA lying about the face on Mars?
Okay, the face on Mars back in the 70s, they finally put an orbiter around Mars, and they had a camera on it, and they took, and it was primitive kind of, but they took a picture of this mountain kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and just the way you looked down, it looked like an ancient face. It almost looked Egyptian in a way, kind of Sphinx-like in a way, kind of looking up at you, in large, a substantial formation, whatever it was. So people jumped right on it, and I think NASA made a mistake at the beginning because they didn't deny it, but they didn't really come out and say this is what basically they said it is. It's just shadows hitting the peaks at a certain time of the Martian day, and so on. But still, to this, and Mars now has been photographed many, many times over. But people still say that this huge face on Mars would be indication of an alien civilization that lived there, eons ago. But I don't know. People still insist that the face on Mars is true. Please, next conspiracy, please. Ella, top 10 NASA conspiracies.
Number 8, the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up on January 28th, 1986. Did NASA cover up how the astronauts on board died?
Ever hear this one, Coco? That there's a secret
Absolutely.
tape.
And to some extent they did.
Yeah, there's a secret tape saying, they said that they died, the crew died when the Challenger blew up, but they have a tape of them in the last moments of their life, and they weren't killed instantly, and they lied to the families about that.
It was not a painless or instantaneous death.
Yep. So once again, NASA, a lot of politics involved, and not being straight with people. Next, NASA conspiracy, please, Ella.
Number 7, on February 1st, 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia blew up on re-entry. Did NASA cover up the real cause of the disaster?
Okay, now this is a very strange one because on board that shuttle flight was the first Israeli shuttle astronaut, and he took part in the bombing of the Iraq nuclear reactor in the early 80s. Supposedly Saddam Hussein, still mad over that, created a death ray, shot it up into orbit, and the last orbit of the Columbia around Earth disabled it, and that's why it broke up and blew up on reentry. The official word was that on takeoff, a piece of foam hit the front of the shuttle, and they didn't notice it until it was coming in. For whatever reason, people don't want to believe, like a lot of things these days, they don't want to believe like the official, what they think the official proof was, but that's how conspiracies go. Face on Mars there. All right, switchy. Please, Ella, next one. NASA conspiracies.
Number 6, does NASA have a secret space program?
Oh, I'd like Coco. We can do this in like 10 seconds. No, they don't. I think Coco will disagree with me.
Yes, they do.
Okay, next one, please.
They do?
That's a whole show. That's a whole show.
That was fast.
Yep. Next, NASA conspiracies, please.
Okay, number 5, what is known as Hubble Mystery Number 1?
Yeah, the Hubble telescope, you don't hear about it much anymore, but when it was up there, you would hear that was in the news a lot. You know, it would take these fantastic pictures of deep, deep space that, people would just, go crazy. And it really got a lot of people turned on to what was going out there because some of the pictures were just crazy, awe-inspiring. Anyway, so what people wanted the Hubble to do, the people who ran Hubble, was to turn it to the moon to see if they could find and close in on the Apollo landing sites to prove that man landed on the moon, humans landed on the moon. And NASA wouldn't do it, but they said, we can't do it because, once again, there's such a highly reflective nature of the moon that we can't, focus in on it. And then like 5 years later, they say, oh, we can. We turned the Hubble to the moon and we found the landing sites. And so, once again, the conspiracy people are saying, well, why wouldn't you just come out and say that? So that was weird. And now I know the next one, too, is Hubble Mystery Number 2. Now, this, to me, is very strange because, once again, the Hubble was in the news a lot way back when they launched it. It was kind of controversial. They had to fix it and so on. The day before they want to launch it, the casing of the mirror, you have to imagine that the Hubble spacecraft was a huge mirror that they got into space. And, when you have a huge mirror, you can see stuff very, very far away, collect the light, and you basically have a picture from back in time. So, and this thing cost millions. And they had to design this mirror to be absolutely no kind of imperfections or anything. The day before, they find that the casing of this mirror breaks in transit. And putting this almost $1 billion thing to in dire straits. That night, the Defense Department comes up with a casing for the mirror, gives it to NASA, and they are able to launch the Hubble. And people say, what's the Defense Department doing with the casing of this, what is supposed to be this one-of-a-kind satellite? And they concluded that the Hubble is basically just a spy satellite that they turn the cameras outward. How's that? Cece, I'm looking to you for approval, but the alien is giving me the dead eye.
There's obviously a shared technology that was there.
10 seconds.
I also think that when you talk about Hubble, the repair job that was done to correct some problems that were done to the mirror and done in space,
right.
Get it to even get greater pictures. It's a pretty interesting program.
Yeah. Yep.
But everyone thinks that NASA doesn't involve itself in anything of nothing but the purest pursuit of science, and that's not true. It's a government agency, and it has ties with a number of other agencies that use the same technology for different missions.
Okay. Next, please, NASA conspiracy. Please, Ella.
Number 3, does NASA allow astronauts to have sex in space? And if so, what positions?
It's the floating position, right?
We don't have that on Earth.
I think
the answer is.
Well, I don't know. If you have a hot tub, you could probably pull something off like that. But I think the re-entry position is pretty interesting.
The what entry position?
The re-entry.
Wow.
Did you say rear entry or
re-entry?
Re-entry, please.
If you want that kind of stuff, you got to go to the Soviet side of the operation. Those Soyuz kids, that's how they roll.
Oh, no, that's not inappropriate. Wow. Okay,
Vladimir, we're on it.
Yeah, I'll take.
Yeah, I didn't write it. I just said it.
Okay, that's all right. That's the staff's fault. We'll get on their case. Please, NASA conspiracies. Ella, please. Down to number.
You want number 2?
Yes, please. No more than
Did
you.
NASA stop using a launch pad at Cape Canaveral because it's haunted?
I think it's called Launch Pad 31, is where the Apollo 1 astronauts actually died. The guys who were supposed to go to the moon died on a launch pad during a test that had pure oxygen inside their capsule.
Gus Grissom shot him in white, if I remember correctly.
And a spark caught. Pure oxygen is the most flammable thing known to man, and they were dead. And people it was on the tour down there, and people who went there said that you can hear, people, who are you're burning to death, let's say. So you cannot. One thing that's for sure, you cannot. It's not part of the tour down there anymore. Yeah, who knows why? Next, the last NASA conspiracy, please, Ella.
And the number one NASA conspiracy: did the Nazis help NASA land on the moon?
Yes. This is a conspiracy.
Are everywhere, it seems.
The conspiracy that is true. What happened is at the end of World War II, there was lots of German scientists who worked for Nazis, and but they were they knew what they were doing as far as ballistic missiles. They're the first ones who actually put up the V2. The V2 was really a ballistic missile. And they knew what they were doing when it came to that. So at the end of the war, a lot of them came over to the United States. Some went to Russia. A lot of them came over to the United States. And they were basically the foundation of NASA. Werner von Braun.
So, Mac, what we hear about Operation Paperclip is all true.
It's all true. Paperclip, right? Basically what happened was if you were a Nazi scientist and you were going to come to America, what they used to do is put a paperclip on your dossier or whatever, your passport or whatever. And that was like the silent nod to the person who's going to let you in, that even though you were a Nazi, you could get in. And they, Werner von Braun, who was a head Nazi scientist, designed the Saturn V rocket that brought them to the moon, and a lot of other things German scientists would design for the Apollo program. So that's one conspiracy that is true. The Nazis did help NASA get us to the moon. Thank you, Ella. Once again, applause, please, but this time for Ella.
Thank you, Matt.
Beautiful
Ella. It was fun.
Yeah, on your bed. Thank you very much. It really classed the whole thing up. We have to go. We have to do the plugs real quick here, JJ. Ready?
Right.
Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops. Please Google them. They are a military charity organization, build homes for wounded veterans from the Iraqi and Afghan war. And they adapt them to whatever wounds they brought home with them, and then they give them the keys to the house. No mortgage, nothing. They deserve it. Homes for Our Troops. Google them, please. Also, the People's Mosquito Project, a good friend, Ron Schaub, and his Mad Englishman friends are putting back together a airplane from World War II, the Mosquito Fighter, made of plywood because they're running out of steel, put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it, one of the fastest airplanes at one time, the fastest airplane in World War II. They're putting it back together. JJ has volunteered to take the first flight as a civilian.
I volunteer no parachute, and I'm glad I quit smoking.
There you go. We don't know whether they can. Oh, that's right, because it's a wooden airplane. Juan-Juan comes at the end of the show. Little material. Thank you very much. And I think that's it, really. We're a podcast. We're everywhere. Just Google us. You'll find us. And,
Google us. You'll have 17 hits on where we're featured on the podcast of your choice. Basically, anywhere that podcasts are available, we're there in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you for everyone listening to us.
Especially Podbean.
Downloading us, and Ella is showing us their magic button.
And get a button, too.
Ella, thank you for joining us and really beautifying the show. And we love you, Ben.
And added some class to the show. Look at it.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say that this was one hell of a fun show tonight?
It was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Switchy.
We're going to do more of these.
Thanks to you,
Something
Switchy.
for everybody.
It's the Beatles with Yoko. Notice that? We got to go. Thank you, Ella, for joining us. Thank you, Switch. Thank you very much, Switchy. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Coco.
My pleasure.
For steering us in the right direction.
My pleasure.
You have a Jolly Roger on your head. Ella, once again, thank you.
Saluting with both hands.
With both hands? Can we see that again? Oh,
we're the Beatles, then Ella must be a ladybug.
Well, no. Thank you, and thank you, Juan-Juan.
I mean in a good way.
For joining. Thank you, Juan-Juan, for helping me steer the ship. We really appreciate it. And we're also on Seacoast Oldies. Download their mobile app for podcasts and look for us. And we're on the local radio for everyone up here in the Northeast part of Massachusetts and southern part of New Hampshire. So
listen to Seacoast Oldies. If you love oldies, it's a great station.
Oh, I love listening to them. It's just for some reason I'm in their market. So anyway, thank you to everyone in the gang, and thank you for everyone listening to us. And this is Mac for the entire posse saying to you, hear us next time. Be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.